What up, y'all? This is Jonathan Evans. Welcome back. Listen, I'm excited because today you got to find your refuge. Let's go. Listen to me now. Everybody goes through storms, so if you don't find your refuge, you're going to be stuck in the storm. A refuge is a place of security and safety. A refuge is a place that doesn't stop the storm, but keeps the storm from raining on you. You got to find your refuge. And I was looking not only at my life, but I was looking at Paul's life in Acts when he talks about when they had finished their shipwreck. They just got into a wreck. In Acts 27, it says they found themselves safely on a place called Malta. The word Malta means refuge. They were secured in a place called Malta, which was a refuge. Now, I want you to understand that all through the book of Psalms, Psalms 2, matter of fact, says that how blessed are those that find refuge in God. All through the book of Psalms, it talks about God as our refuge. And you want to make sure that you're not going to your circumstance as the object of your faith, that you're going to God as the object of your faith. Most of us find our confidence in the wrong place. We put our confidence in our problems, confidence in people, confidence in our perspective, confidence in our history, but we don't put our confidence in the refuge that can actually keep us secure even in times where all of those things go crazy and get unstable. Listen, Paul got into a wreck with the rest of the prisoners and they found themselves in a refuge. And let me tell you what happened in this refuge. It was cold. It was raining. They had just gotten into a wreck where they had to swim on shipwreck in order to get to this place called Malta. All of these bad things were going on. But when they got to the refuge, there were natives there that showed them kindness and that kindled a fire. Let me help you understand that when you find a refuge, you know you found a refuge because in the middle of a storm, it's a place of comfort, care, and community. In the middle of your storm, you found comfort, care, and community. Now, this is something that you found because it says at the end of Acts 27 that Paul swam, they jumped on planks, they used shipwreck, whatever they could do to get to land, to get to the refuge is what they did. They didn't say, I don't need it. They didn't say, I don't want it. They were looking for stability in the midst of a storm. There are a lot of Christians today who want everything but aren't willing to do anything. This is a refuge that they found in the midst of a wreck. You got to go find your refuge. I tell you, when I was in college, things were going upside down for me. Things were going upside down in me and Kanika's relationship at the time, not because of her, but because of me. I was in a wreck. I was living life the way that I wasn't called to live my life. And it was causing these outcomes that were no good for me. It was causing me to no longer know who I was. I literally looked in the mirror and said, Jonathan, who are you? What are you doing? How did you get to this place? How are you dealing with these things that you're dealing with in your life? And I realized that I had wrecked my life in such a way that I needed to go find a refuge. If I had decided to stay where I was and handle it on my own, like most of us, we think I'll get out of this. I can just pray and God will take the storm away. I can just think spiritual. I can just have healthy thoughts. I can just make sure that my mind is on the positive things. All of those things are important. But Paul and the prisoners that were on that boat, they got into a shipwreck. They swam. They jumped on shipwreck. They did whatever they had to do to go find comfort, care, and community in the midst of the storm that they were facing. So what did I do? When I was in college, I said, I need to join this Bible study group. I had a friend who had a Bible study group. And at first I wasn't going. I wasn't a part of it. I thought too highly of myself than I ought to think. And life has a way of knocking you down so that you realize that there's a rock that you need to stand on to get back up. And it was the rock of God's word, but not alone. I had to do it in the context of community. So I went and found my refuge. I went and found comfort, care, and community. I went and found natives, people who were in Malta, who were already in the refuge, who were already in the place of safety, who were already doing well in their relationships, who were already doing well in their schooling assignments at the time, who were already doing well in their spiritual life, who were already on the trajectory that I wanted to be on. I found that place, that Malta, and I sat with those natives and they were able to kindle a fire, even though it was still raining and it was cold. They were able to show me kindness, even though I deserved judgment. They were able to put me in a circumstance that many of you need. Many of you need community that provides comfort and care, but you don't want to go get it. You want everything, but you're not willing to do anything. We complain about the storms. We complain about the rain, but we don't go find a refuge. Jesus even says, the Bible says in Jeremiah 29, everybody knows Jeremiah 29:11. I have a plan for you, saith the Lord. It's a plan for your well-being and not your calamity, so that you can have a future and a hope. But after that, it says, if you seek me, you will find me if you search for me with all of your heart. This is something that you seek, you search, and you go find so that you can take refuge in God, but you do it through the context of community. Understand, iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. A brother is born for a time of adversity. Bear one another's burdens, therefore fulfilling the law of Christ. Listen to what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, you got to go find your refuge. You got to go find your community. And if you're unwilling to go find the refuge, then don't be mad when you still experiencing the rain from the storm. We're all in storms. Matter of fact, when I was in college and I went to them, we would spend our Bible studies talking about the storms we were in. But we were doing it in Malta. We were doing it in the context of community care, and we were doing it in the context of making sure that we're in a safe place while we're experiencing hard times. Listen, I'm trying to tell you something because many of you are loners. Many of you are alone. Many of you are trying to deal with your circumstances by yourself, and it's eating you up because your life is a wreck. You got to be honest. My life was a wreck in college. It wasn't going in the direction that I wanted it to go. I was a prisoner on a ship going to nowhere. And I got in a wreck and said, man, I got to jump on the plank of his grace. I got to swim in his love. I got to find community, comfort, and care because that is the place of refuge. And Psalms 2:12 says, blessed is everyone who finds refuge in the Lord. Don't you know that your blessing is in the refuge? Don't you know that there are natives who are already successful? In other words, these people are already in the refuge. They're already successful in the place that you want to go. They can get you there, but you're avoiding them because you feel like you're going to get judged. You're avoiding them because you feel like you want your business to stay your business. You're avoiding them because you're thinking a little bit too highly of yourself than what you ought to be thinking. You're avoiding them because you want to give them Instagram ready life and you don't want them to see what's behind the picture. You're avoiding them because you only want them to know about the highlight reels. You don't want them to know about what happened in order to make those highlights. Listen, you're lying to yourself. Without comfort, care, and community, without those natives, Paul would have just been in the rain. He wouldn't have been heated up. There would not have been a fire that was kindled. There would not have been a safe place for him to be able to shake off things that were biting him. Listen, in that same refuge, Paul got bit by a viper. You say, well, Jonathan, I thought this was a refuge. Paul got bit by a viper, but it says in that refuge, he was able to shake it off and he suffered no harm. Listen, the refuge doesn't mean you won't get bitten. The refuge doesn't mean it all goes away. The refuge doesn't mean there is no more storm. The refuge just means that now you're in a place of comfort, care, and community where you can shake it off. Now you're in a place where even when you're bitten, you have something firm, a firm foundation that you're resting on. It's like Matthew 7, the man who built his house on the rock and the man who built his house on the storm. The flood and the rain hit them both, but one stood and one fell. If you don't find Malta, if you don't find your refuge, then where will you be when you're in a shipwreck? You're in a shipwreck. I'm in a shipwreck. We've experienced shipwrecks. But don't expect everything if you're not willing to do anything. He says, seek me, search for me, and you will find me when you look for me with all of your heart. Paul found himself in a community. Paul found himself in a refuge. Paul found himself with natives, people who understood what he was going through and were able to kindle a fire and make warm in a cold situation. The question is, are you going to find your refuge? Or are you only going to continue to complain about the shipwreck? Listen, be steadfast, unmovable, always abound in the work of the Lord, and know that it will not go in vain. I can't tell you how important this message for you to go find your refuge, find your people, find those natives, find Malta, so that they can light a fire for you in a cold place. Listen, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Make sure you share these so people can hear it. Make sure you create a community for yourself, not only within this community right here on YouTube, but also in your community right where you are, so that we can find our refuge and continue to go towards the purpose that God is calling us to go towards. Let's go. Can't wait to see you next time. What's up, everybody? This is Jonathan Evans. Listen, I'm excited that you're here. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like, ring the bell, share. You know, all of that stuff you do on YouTube. Support the channel because the channel wants to support you. We want to support one another in this relationship that we have so that every one of us can continue to grow. Let's go.